I've been following Conor McGregor for a long time. A lot of you don't know. He used to fight in local competitions here in England. And I know a lot of guys that knew him up and coming, and people were talking about him for a long time. Obviously, I saw him join the UFC. He got the knee injury and he was out, and then he started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. We actually had an opportunity to have him in studio a few years ago, but it was like, well, you need to fly him in, and we didn't have any budget for that, so I actually didn't get the chance. Of course, I know Ido Portal very well. I'm a huge fan of Ido and his view on movement. He is the only he's the only guy when it comes to human movement in the world, in my opinion. Everyone else is down here. And Conor, of course, Ido trains Conor McGregor, and they're very close, and it's been great to see their relationship blossom. And so I've been watching Conor McGregor like we all have, and it's been incredible what he's done. And if you watch him the last 2 years, a lot of things have changed. He got the 2 belts, which was something that only a few champions have done in history, which is being a champ at 2 different weight classes, very difficult to do. He was the 145 and the 155 champ at the same time. Soon after, the UFC stripped his belts, and he was on an interview last night with the Mac Life, which is his own YouTube channel, and he said that bothered him, and I understand why it bothered him. In the UFC, I see it from Dana White's perspective. On one standpoint, you can't have belts waiting for someone who might not fight for 6 and 12 months. On the other hand, Conor earned both of those belts. It's very difficult to do that. I think the only person that's done that is Cormier recently, Dan Henderson back in the day. Maybe there's been a couple others. It's hard to do. And we just saw Rory McDonald, the Red King, who's been our guest on London Real, and I really like Rory, and we're getting, we trade messages every now and then. He tried to go up and fight Gegard Mousasi at Bellator and take the 185 belt, and you saw how hard it is to go up and fight a guy that's just bigger than you by 15 pounds. It's no walk in the park. And so, Rory had a really hard night with Gegard. Pretty much everything went wrong. He even admitted that he kind of froze. But Gegard played it by the book, and Rory had that kind of slide in, tackle the 50-50 guard. Just not a good idea with a bigger guy in MMA. And it might have worked out, but it ended up really bad for him. So we know how hard it is. Conor did it. The belts got stripped. I know him and Dana have a contentious relationship, but when money's on the line, folks, you always have to negotiate. And Conor's a master negotiator, and I believe he'll always have a tenuous relationship with the UFC. Obviously, he went on to fight Floyd Mayweather last year for that gala spectacle. Rumors are he made $100 million. I don't know if that's true. I hear it's more like 60, but it's still enough change to make you relatively happy. Also, Conor grew up very poor. I remember even in the UFC saying, I'm on the dole still. So for him, new money when you don't have money, it behaved differently than if you had a little bit of money. And so you kind of go crazy, you buy lots of stuff, and as Dana said, after a while that gets old, and you go back to what you're passionate about, right? Back to the business accelerator. Do what you love, right? And then you'll never work a day in your life. And so Conor's come back and said, you know what? This is the thing that makes me feel most human, that makes me feel most alive, to get locked in a cage with another man who's at the top of his game, and to see, literally, it's a fight to the death. And that's what people don't understand about MMA versus boxing. Boxing, I love boxing. I respect boxing. It's a beautiful, sweet science, and I wish I was better at it. But MMA is a fight to the death. You literally are choking a guy out that if there wasn't a ref, he would be dead. Literally think about what they're doing in there. You're going to die. And so it's serious business, and I know Conor loves competing on the highest level, and he did an interview last night with the Mac Life. And Conor's not been doing press, and you can see him at that last press conference with Khabib. He's an angry guy. And as Dana said, that press conference got dark. And Conor is the best at psychological warfare. He's better than Muhammad Ali by a long shot. And I honestly love watching the press conferences, sometimes more than the fights. And his 3 press conferences with Mayweather, I don't think we've ever seen anything like that in the history of the world. It was part comedy show, part improv, part fight, part not fight. I loved watching those things, and each one was different. And I think each one took an emotional toll. And last night you saw Conor talk about that, and he said, this was some circus that you put me on, this media circus. And I think it bothered him. And I think it might have actually affected the way he fought that night with Mayweather. I think he didn't want to be a monkey in a circus. And so this time you can see Conor specifically not doing media. Even though it could help his pay-per-view sales, even though it could help his psychological war with Khabib, he's still not doing it. And he's doing it his way. And I find that very interesting. And I can't wait to watch the press conference on Thursday in Vegas. I expect a subdued McGregor. And I've seen him do this before, where a couple months out the fight, he's in your face, he's grabbing belts, he's throwing whiskey on you if you're a Muslim, right? And then up in the press conference, he's calm and he's ready to fight. And that's the Conor I think we're going to see on Thursday. We'll see. The face-off will be interesting.